pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll approve the agenda. And Tina, you said you had something to put on there?
Yep, under the Grant County cannabis ordinance, we'll also need to add the Grant County cannabis fees. That was my mistake, I forgot to add that.
With that addition, Mr. Chair, I'll make that motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Motion, or we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The board meeting minutes were sent out.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes. I'll second it, Mr. Chair.
Motion and a second on the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The warrants were also sent out.
I had a question. What precise MRM LLC is? There's $13.23 transactions. Never seen that vendor before. Do we know what it is?
It's for GPS on the trucks.
Yep. The who?
The GPS on the plow trucks.
Oh, okay.
It's been there probably every month, I suppose.
Thank you.
It's an app fee, is it? Isn't that what it is? It's an app.
Subscription, yeah.
Was it tracking? You can see where they are. Another question, maybe Matt, you or Aaron would know, $5,449 for Otter Tail for pole relocation. Is that part of a bigger project?
That's part of the 55 project. We were relocating on a portion of it with our costs.
Yeah. Thank you. Make a motion, we approve the warrants.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the warrants. Any discussion on any of them? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Grant County opioid grants.
Morning.
Good morning. And I am here today, on behalf of Public Health, who has been just helping, allocate these dollars that Grant County has received through the opioid settlement. And so how that process has worked is we have a task force where we had some appointed agencies too, and we have the, application, the funding application closed on June 15th, and then we have met this summer to recommend 7 projects to you for funding. And so I do have a summary. If you have any questions, I don't want to waste too much time. If there's any specific questions, if you want me to go through them. And I guess we're bringing them here as a lump, but
We do have a narrative in front of us for each
Okay.
grant.
okay,
I have the summary.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the task force would recommend the funding for these 7 projects. The funding would start upon the approval of these grants, and they have various end dates. So we work with the county, or the county would establish contracts with these with their various end dates. So yeah, if there's any questions, you can let myself and Tina know.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One being, makes reference to a. Coordinator, wellness coordinator. Is in your application, or is that referencing that there would be specific duties that would be applied to someone's current job that would be coordinating this use of?
Well,
Quest?
you know, first I'm just sort of carrying these through, so we can open that one up specifically. That was one of the sheriffs. Was that one of the sheriff's ones? Cause just to clarify, I won't be working in any of these specifically at all. So yes, for the sheriff's one, they're proposing, they had 2 applications. Well, technically they had 4 applications that they had brought through. And so one of these was, for a wellness grant, not the physical fitness one. Is that the one you were, cause they both were titled the same thing, but one had much more of a physical component and one had a mental well-being component. Is that the one that you're referencing?
Well, actually representing or both in a sense, because they seem
Sure.
very likely tie together.
They do tie together. So actually when the more, they're titled the same thing, but when the more physical fitness one went forward, actually the task force asked, that the sheriff's office, bring that back and review that a little bit. There was some questions as well around the physical fitness component to that, and just really wanting to ensure that, that will be used. And so wanting some metrics to put into place to ensure that if there's going to be some reimbursement for some of those, that it's being used, and how do we ensure they are? And if they aren't, let's relook at that to make sure that we don't have dollars out there that we're not allocating. And so for the wellness portion of that, there would be, I have the wrong one pulled up here, which is why I brought my computer up here with me.
So let me ask
Yeah, please.
another further question, if I may.
Yeah.
Would you say, and you've worked with these with the other counties, would you say that the opioid grants generally could be looked at where, and I'll just use a reference to casting a wider net over a group of people or a situation to benefit or for better outcomes?
Mm-hmm.
And if do you agree with that?
Well, so in the MOA that came from the state, there's a 13-page document with all the allocated use of the funds. So we have ensured that these dollars fit that allocated use of funds. which can be used directly towards, community members and trying to reduce the opioid use specifically, and then it can also be used for first responders, educators, and the general community as large too, that is working with that. So, yes.
And so then my question would be, looking at this, two questions. One,
Mhm.
because I have had little experience for it back in my work life, with trying to put together a wellness program.
Mhm.
Is it seems like as soon as you kind of were like the rubber hit the runway, you end up with HIPAA
Sure.
regulations. And you kind of come to screeching halts.
Mhm.
It's none of my business what I weigh for someone else's business or
Right.
what, or whatever, or when someone stands outside the building and smokes cigarettes, it's none of my business. And the point is I just question if we're gonna have a program and allocate almost $18,000 to one department. Cause very likely we have other staff members that could have some of the same needs, and I know
Yeah.
law enforcement's different than,
Yeah,
but social services, we
right.
potentially stress in other areas. And the other thing is, we do have a wellness committee, or I've had one in the past. And my concern is if we're creating a wellness coordinator and it's gonna end up adding to their job. From what I'm hearing, we're already busy. This is a huge program,
Mhm.
and it feels like, to Ken, it's kind of like a year and a half unfunded Band-Aid.
Mhm.
And so I don't know how the board feels about it. The other problem I have is we just found out about this on Friday.
Hmm.
And if we're asked to make a decision today, I think that, and that's where I talk about casting this net wider. It's just like some of the other requests. I'm just not sure.
Sure.
So I don't know if you want to weigh in on it, or if the committee members want to weigh in on it.
Well, one of the things we talked about in these is measurable outcome, and I don't know where that falls in with your HIP, I didn't think of that, but so like the fitness program is more than just documenting that we have memberships purchased, that it's being used, and I don't know how that falls in with the HIPAA part, but if we're not getting that proof that it's being used, that funding goes away. So I mean, it's not, so that is the written down end date, but that does not, I believe did we say quarterly or
We
every?
said, 3 months. In
Yeah.
3 months, we were going to be, asking the sheriff's department to just provide some documentation. Are these dollars being used? You know, are these, officers, utilizing this? And if not, have that conversation about, yeah, because the task force had the same questions that you have as well right now too about that.
So through public health or the other companies, and I think we have some level of employee assistance programs.
Mhm.
Isn't there vendors out there that if I have an extreme need, do we need to build for another program? And once again, in a year and a half, where are we gonna be?
You're kind of talking about like an EAP, and
Well,
the
and
county
that's-
has that.
The county has one
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
that is not being utilized.
mm-hmm. And, again, we had some of these, the task force had some of these similar conversations as well. So, yeah.
I am against promoting having a wellness coordinator within the department that's already busy, from what I hear, almost at the overload level. Because wellness programs are a huge effort. Would you agree?
There are a huge effort, and I mean, and maybe a conversation to have through these 7 grants is, and Chair, I'll let you decide how you want to run through these, this is the county's dollars. I mean, the county, these are the dollars that are sitting with the county.
Dedicated dollars.
Dedicated dollars, yeah, and so it's really a conversation that, our opioid task force meets, and, we have these conversations, but we bring these, we don't make the decisions if we're going to fund these or not. So we're trying to sort of cipher them down to you all to have these conversations. So you could approve these one at a time today. If you want to table them, and, you know, bring these back for further discussion, that'd be another option as well too. There's definitely ways you can move through here. If you have some, and we did the same thing. As you know, when you were a part of these, we opened some of these up and we were like, some of these were an easy, absolutely wanted to ensure these happen, and some required some further conversations. I can tell you this morning, Pope County is doing this exact same thing with a tabled project that they had, and Douglas County is running all theirs through today. So yeah, if you have some questions and concerns and you aren't quite sure, you know, you could either strike it down, or you can have this tabled and there can be another conversation as well if you want to see some
I
of
think
these.
we should table, I mean, this is the first time the other four, I've seen it, but the other four have seen this, so I mean, I think we should table them and then everybody can go through and. Cause they've seen it on Friday and there really wasn't time to ask questions and, right, with yesterday being a
Sure.
holiday, so.
And you know, unless there's any you did see and wanted to move through with today too, there's.
Just another thought, because obviously in light of what's taken place in the last week in Minneapolis at that church. I was having the discussion with someone who works in the school. And the comment was, it's not about gun safety, it's about school safety. That's where you can be impactful as a county commissioner. And then when I saw this, I'm like, school safety, not wellness for 15. It doesn't, I'm not against wellness.
Yeah.
And the DARE program's great, and I think the Community Actions Program, I think that's great, I sit on that board. But maybe there's a potential to be impactful in our county when it relates to school safety. And I think we should at least, and I agree with the tabling and, but I think we should think about that and maybe charge our task force to look at it.
Well-
In a little different light.
Well, and here's how we did this though too, is we casted the net, it's really a grant program. So we casted the net for applications to come in, and then we, you know, the task force reviews them. The task force themselves aren't working on any of the projects, and that wouldn't be how our task force is even designed.
Well, and in that, like, when the sheriff's office puts a request in, they don't vote to move it forward, they're limited in the amount of discussion they're doing. And nobody here can tell you that we don't wanna look at school safety, but how do you tie that into opioid? You gotta tie it into prevention, treatment, response. I mean, there's criteria you gotta meet, and to just, that's I'm not saying it's not possible, that's takes a different entity to look at it, fit it into that, and then do it.
Well, I would be hard to agree with you to say we can't tie school safety into opioids when we can, and nothing against Norcross, but you can retar the tennis court.
I'm not saying you can, I'm saying you have to.
Well, I'm just saying, trying to build a narrative, there's a lot of difference.
And I don't disagree with you with any of those. We would just, I mean, we as a community would need to then encourage or figure out what that be, so then they could apply, you know, consider that task force is just really a review of applications. We aren't working as, you know, we're not really, we aren't necessarily doing, we meet quarterly to talk about what the needs are in the community, and then really ensure that we're getting that out. So then when it's time to allocate these dollars, it's really up to the community to put, or, you know, an agency to put together an application to apply. So
I
yeah,
have something, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Okay, so if the sheriff's office is thinking about the DARE program, that's a good program. We had that when I was a sheriff, it's not there anymore, but that's money well spent on educating kids on the use of, you know, alcohol and drugs. And, so that part I'm fully supportive of, if they're gonna do that. And then, the medicine drop box, that's a great deal, get that stuff into that drop box. So.
Well, I will second that if those are both motions for both of those, Dwight.
Yeah, okay. So I can make that motion, but then what about the other?
Well, let's do those two and then we'll,
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion and that we go with this, $11,915 for the Grand County DARE program. And the $1,575 for the medicine drop box.
And I'll second to it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for these two. Any more discussion on them? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I would also then, motion, I did do a little bit of research with Missy, since I do represent this board on the community actions board, that, the rental assistance and outreach program through Western Community Actions. And she was extremely supportive of that. I know there's quite a bit of money allocated in some of the other counties, but they were larger counties. But that is a really good program, and I'd make a motion that we approve that one to $35,000.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the West Central Community's actions. Any more discussion on that? Not all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
I have a question, Mr. Chair, on the Herman Norcross community improvement. It says end date 11/30/25. What does that mean?
Well, being that they're looking at just doing this project, it's gonna be sort of a one and done. And so they would be able to do that yet this fall. So then it's sort of done. And this has really started back almost 2 years ago when we started engaging with the youth in the community. And there's a question on the Minnesota Student Survey that asks them, do you feel the community cares for you? And Grant County had some really low scores with that. So what we did is that we went to those eighth graders and asked them more about that. And what had come back was, there's just really nothing for us to do, and we want to feel, so we have taken those students and that data and that narrative to some school board meetings and to some city council meetings. I know Commissioner Johnson was a part of those as well. And this is what has come from that is they just want more to do in the community. And there is, a lot of information and a lot of data that does talk about the more we can have youth engaged in the community, we can sort of lower the risk for using substances and other risky behaviors. So that's where this is about a 2-year project, and working directly with those youth has come from. So they have been waiting for the opportunity to apply for these dollars to then, have some things for the youth to do in the community. And this is what they told us they wanted. This wasn't adults making this decision.
So maybe I should know this. What is ball?
Gaga ball. I'm not gonna do a very good job of justifying it, but it's basically like, and if anybody can help me here, but it's a circular, my kids have played it when they were at camp too, but it's like a big circular ring, and there's like a ball in there, and does anybody can define this for us?
If you put in what is before anything, Google will tell
Yeah,
you.
it's just a really fun game, and there's like a ball in there, and I think is it a little bit of a kind of like a what's that where you throw the ball at each other? That's
Dodgeball.
dodgeball. It's kind of like a dodgeball, but you're in this ring, and
So it's not a typo.
it's not a typo. It is called Gaga ball.
I don't know what it is either, but I go,
It is, yeah.
How about a pickleball court? Did they bring up that?
They did not bring that up, but I would be, yeah, they did not bring that up, but I mean, if you're gonna lay down some tennis court resurfacing, you could obviously put some different types of lines in there too.
That 11,000 cover that whole cost.
That's what they have come up with that cost, so. Mhm.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we approve the Herman Norcross $11,000 request for community improvement.
I'll second it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, on the other request by the sheriff, then what are we gonna study that or what?
And the other one too is that Vivi, if there's any conversation about the Vivi application.
And what is that?
So Vivi is the formal it's Canute Nelson, they renamed themselves in Alexandria. And this is a project they put in that is multi-county, and it is being funded by most of the counties, wasn't by all 5. And they want to do a PEARLS program, which is working with seniors 60 and older. And this would be through remote. It's not an in-person, and there was a lot of conversation at the task force about, you know, do seniors know how to use, these types of technology? And we had, you know, I think we all have examples of seniors in our life that are super savvy and not savvy. And so for those that are unable to learn, it's a mental health program, looking to support ages 60 or older and helping them manage depression, build resilience. Excuse me. And, reduce the reliance on opioids. I can share that at our task force meetings that we've had here, we have heard from, Lake Region that some of, in their emergency departments, some of their frequent patients that they do see are seniors who are on lots of different medications, and they are not always managing them correctly, and there have at times are presenting themselves in the emergency department for overuse. And so this would be working with that senior population. And it is multi-counties. I think three of the five were recommending those dollars.
And I don't see it in here, but part of this as well is they would have electronics that could be checked out.
Yes.
So that if someone does not
iPads.
have access, they can get it.
Yep. And so it's sort of meeting those needs that we saw here, where we are seeing seniors in our emergency departments for just, they're on so many medications and they're just not always using them correctly. We know rural healthcare and access to healthcare in our rural communities can be challenging. And then we also have seniors who at times aren't able to move themselves from point A to point B. With that lack of a license, they're not comfortable or whatnot. So it's a small investment to look to reach those seniors.
We do some of that on the Land of the Dancing Sky, the senior coordinators.
Yeah.
Here within the
There's-
counties and
yeah.
things like that, and also, I mean, with those, are they gonna be part of this process then?
Yeah, so they do have a collaborative project here to engage, you know, other agencies as a part of this as well.
Okay.
So,
I would make a motion to approve the VV.
Vivi.
Vivi. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, any more discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I'll make a motion to table the remaining till 2 weeks, whatever, the 16th.
Okay, so just to be clear, then we'll review that and then come back and have a further discussion. Okay, anything you need from me?
I'll second that one.
So there's 2 items in out of 7,
Two or three?
2.
3.
Three, yeah.
Mr. Chair, I think we should request that we get some feedback in quarterly, like every 3 months or something like that. Maybe have you come back or somebody come
Maybe
back
happy
or do a Zoom event or something like that, give us some updates
Mm-hmm.
on progress.
On all the projects?
And well, of what we passed.
Sure.
Sure, whatever, if there's something that could be measured out there, I think we need a progress report on it.
So, here's what we've done in the past, and I'd be happy to bring this to you all, is annually, we have required all of our applicants across all 5 counties. So maybe you'd be interested in seeing what's happening across the other 4 counties as well. As we have a report that we do give, applicants. And, both your coordinator and then our task force use that for, there's a pretty comprehensive report that you need to give to the state that shows how Grant County is doing that. But then we also have other metrics that I think would be super interesting for you as well, to just, how is this helping in the communities and how are we meeting these? So, we've kept that, your report is due in March. And so, we've sort of done that at a calendar year, even if you have a couple months in there. So then I would be sending those to all of the applicants at the end of the calendar year, and then it's due mid-January or something like that. But I could backtrack that as well and share, you have other dollars that you have allocated into the county as well.
That's my opinion. If the rest of the board's got something to weigh in on that, you know, certainly.
And you know, the other thing too is annually we are required to have a consultation and partnership meeting, and we do that in October, November every year. And that's where we invite all the cities and townships to come together and then share, here's how we've spent the dollars, here's what's been happening. And then there's also an opportunity for people to give feedback, to go, oh, I wish we could be doing some of these projects in the community as well. And so then how can we share those with other agencies and sort of encourage them to maybe put an application in as well. So that'll be coming up, in October, November. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but,
And there's one thing that this could actually, enhance would be the Child Youth Council and some of the traction and programs that we've been doing there.
Mhm.
So I mean, if somebody.
Kari is a part of all of this.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yep, she's on the task force too.
So we're coming back in 2 weeks. The wellness piece, is that somewhat in Horizon's wheelhouse?
I mean, no, this would be, I mean, it's
Not this,
the,
wellness.
well, yes, I mean, I would say we're a public health agency, we absolutely have, yeah, so, but what would the request be exactly? So I
Well,
can-
I'm just wondering if it is in. We are. Part of Horizon, if it's in your wheelhouse. Are you prepared then to come back and offer some, or is this a program we're building on our own, or just?
Well, right now, both of those projects are being proposed by the sheriff's department. We ourselves, we do not have, I mean, I would need to talk to our director about that for the capacity to be able to support that. I think we would need to have a conversation about how we financially do that as well, and that would be something I would want my administrator to answer some of those questions about. So I think there's, yeah, an opportunity to have some more questions about that. I have just though the 2 applications, I
Yeah.
heard 2 and 3, so I just wanna make sure. Yeah, so, and maybe,
So we have a motion that we haven't done yet.
Right.
To table those 2,
I know I made a motion.
and he seconded it.
Yeah.
We just gotta vote on it.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay,
great. Anything else? Thank you for your time.
It was good.
Ashley?
All right. So I am here today. We have received a resignation from our current office manager account tech position at Highway. The strategic planning committee met last week to discuss options. We asked, what are things that are going well? What are things that are maybe not? How can we improve things? And the county treasurer, of course, I'll give you some background. So before we hired the current office manager, account tech, we met in June of 2024 to talk about transition plan of how we're going to have this position work. And at the time, the county treasurer met with us and was willing to take on the higher level duties of that role. And so we reclassified the county treasurer position and the office manager account tech position. So, she was doing the high level, but also being that support for that office manager account tech as she was transitioning in. And then August of 24, we hired the office manager account tech position. So now we received the resignations. We went back to the table with the strategic planning committee to find out if there was any other changes we need to be made. The option or the recommendation, I guess, from the strategic planning committee was that we would move that position to the treasurer's office and it would be account tech. So we would reclassify it as account tech and have it located in the treasurer's office. The treasurer would take on also take on some extra duties. And then the deputy treasurer would kind of be the backup for that account tech, the account tech. And then the account tech in the treasurer's office would kind of be the backup then for the deputy treasurer. So that was talked about as an option. And then Friday afternoon, we received a letter from the deputy auditors, the 2 deputy auditors, proposing to take on absorbing the duties in the office. In the letter, it explains that they have more time to take on those duties. with the clerking duties being, sent to the coordinator. So that option also was brought up, so I think it's important, obviously Matt is here today, this directly affects him, and I think that his opinion is probably the most important, so I'm probably turn it to him with the options talked about.
You guys have any questions about the options to begin with?
Yeah.
No.
Probably being on the committee, we should just touch on for the benefit of the board and others, a little bit how we view the technology. How that we move forward in that.
So we talked about, with the office, that office manager contact was the first point of contact for the office. So we talked about, setting up phones to have options where you can select, the numbers to get a hold of Matt, to get a hold of Aaron, to get a hold of Pat, or general questions would be then, going to the treasurer's office. Over them to then dispatch to the appropriate people. And then, eventually putting, signage up for those that can do things online, things like that. But at this point, that's kind of where we're at.
And I emailed Darren with more select cards, he hasn't got it. So.
So typically, like if you call that 685 number and you get nobody, does that call forward to your cell phones? Would that call?
Well, then we've set up a directory saying that's one for Matt, one for me.
So regardless of what, if you're not in the office, the cell phone will read it too, correct?
Yeah.
Or they'll get
Otherwise,
somebody.
If it gets forwarded to our correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I have all my desk calls go forward to my cell phone anyway, so. And I think we talked about, officially decided that if leadership is in the office, that the door necessarily wouldn't be locked. That if someone did a vendor or a taxpayer, they could open the door if they were looking for Aaron Franz. But the technology then would replace it if they're out in the field. They're on a conference call.
Be realistic, we're an office of 2 people, In the winter, it's me and Aaron, Pat's out all the time. And in the summer, Aaron's out all the time, or he should be more often than not on construction projects. So that generally leaves me in the office, and I should probably be out on projects too more often than I am. So it's kind of there's really nobody there to answer the questions most of the time as it is, so. I think the director, he would actually be more helpful in getting the calls to the right people that need to get to them, so.
So what is Matt's preference?
My preference would be to go with the account tech position in the treasurer's office. My concern is that it keeps the position. If things change down the road, if it's not working, or there's concerns that the board has, or the public, we can simply revert back to the way we were without any issues. And I guess and also with Jamie being the designated highway accountant, I believe it would make it more difficult if we get a third department into the mix. It wouldn't be very clean, I would think. So I guess my preference would be just to keep it with the treasurer's office.
Jamie,
Okay.
do you have anything to add?
Just because I have experience in the position now, I think it would be a good transition. Again, with what he said, because this is new, right? Taking that position out of the highway department, moving it up to this office, not embedding it into other job descriptions. It's still going to remain as the highway account tech, just in different location under different leadership. And if it doesn't work, it would be an easier transition back to the highway department. And that person would have, more training. I've been doing it now for over a year. Have a pretty good handle on what's going on and whatnot, and just to help build that retention. We've went through quite a few in the last couple of years, And that's why I had originally reached out to Matt and said, hey, is there anything I can do to help? When I did, just to make sure, you know, we could keep that position rolling and going. And I feel like it would be a good fit in my office.
I think strategically, it's where we want to head, we'll oversee departments working together, also to do some cross training. And so I guess I appreciate Jamie's willingness and, but it also, I think, kind of fits our vision strategically.
So we'll need a motion to,
So really all we're doing is we're changing the supervisor of the highway account technician.
And location.
Moving the position, if that's the option you wanna make a motion on, it would be moving we would be reclassifying the position to account tech. There isn't gonna be much change in the body of the job description, but the title would change to account tech and then relocating it under the supervision of the county treasurer.
Supervision and location of the treasurer.
Yes,
And the duties that used to be all wrapped up into one job down there, you've taken about half of it, correct?
I don't know
Or a
about
third
half,
of it, maybe?
I don't know a percentage, but I work with that position all the time, right? We're constantly doing stuff together.
So it'd be a smoother transition to keep them right there in house and use, like Ken said, do some cross training. Right, I think that would, you know, bode well for us long term.
Yep, and then we did talk about, I would be doing those duties, me and my deputy treasurer Carrie would be doing those duties. Well, you know, whatever you guys decide, whether it stays down there or whatever it may be, we would be taking on those duties until that position's filled anyway.
Okay.
So Beth came up to train us, just some to the day-to-day activities, what's kind of outstanding, some ARs that's out there and whatnot. She came up last Thursday and we went through a lot of that. Just the submitting payroll, you know, the day-to-day activities that I don't do. Right now.
Well, so her day-to-day stuff, she used to submit to the auditor's office then,
Yeah, so the bills and the,
Right.
payroll,
and
right,
that would not change, that would still stay intact?
correct. Mhm. Yep, so she enters them and does all of hers and then submits them to the auditor's office. And then they print their bills, send them out, that kind of stuff, yeah.
so basically all it's changing is the position or the location and the supervisor, right?
Well, and maybe a couple more duties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be taking on a few more, but
I'd make a motion to approve the recommendation.
Second, do you have everything you need, Tina, for motion?
Believe so. Approve to move the account technician position to the Grand County Treasurer's Office. Motion made by Ken, seconded by Troy.
Any more discussion?
That covered what we need?
Can I speak up? This is Chad.
Go ahead.
I was out on Friday, so I was unaware of some of the stuff that was going on. First, want to say I understand the rationale or the reasoning behind keeping a position. So if it doesn't work out, it can be transferred back down to the highway department. I understand all of that. I guess I was disappointed in the fact that number one, the strategic planning committee, what I've heard from the administration here in the county and specifically the strategic planning committee is transparency, you know, putting everybody in a room that's should be there to talk about things. You know, our office here, we are the finance department for the county. We do payroll, we do bills, we do all of this. This is not the first time this has come up. 3 times before this, when there's been a resignation or someone has left the highway department, we've had discussions, when I say we, the auditor's office, about possibly taking on those duties up in our office. Am I not correct in saying that? We have. So when it comes about this time, we were, I feel, intentionally left out of that entire conversation. Kind of wondering why, if the strategic planning committee is now strategically looking at what's best for the county, and it's nothing against Jamie or the treasurer's office or the highway department, but myself was never notified of, hey, do you have any ideas about this? Why was that?
Well, we, previously, when this position was open, we moved some of those duties to the treasurer's office, and this was just an expansion of that process.
And the cost savings that could happen have no bearing of an entire, a whole nother position?
Well, as we discussed, that if this doesn't work out and we need to move someone back there, now what do we do if we do go and not hire that position and we put those duties elsewhere? The cost savings of a position, absolutely, it was discussed. But we don't know that this plan necessarily works. This is the next step.
Okay. Well, I guess, like I said, I was pretty disappointed in the fact that the office that actually does this work for the county was not even part of any discussion. And that's what we have kept hearing over and over again about, let's get everybody in the room. And they weren't. With that, I am going to mute myself and be done.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Marco, copy your contract?
Yes, Marco, met with Marco and we went through all the copier leases and we have combined some and we've come up with 3 different contracts. One contract that includes the attorney's office, the sheriff's office, the license bureau and highway, is due this year, 2025. So when they were here, we went to the offices and talked to them about their copiers, when they get their new machine, if there's things they, wanted added or things they would, no longer need. And that is the contract that was sent out in your packets. We did find some cost savings. Some of the offices no longer use their analog fax lines, so they were removed. And you could see in the contract, the savings, of $106.41 monthly, $1,276.92 annually, and in 5 years, which is the length of the contract, we'd save $6,384.60. So I am looking for approval for that contract. That's contract, we're calling it number 1. It's the one that's due in 2025. Again, it affects the attorney's office, sheriff's office, license bureau, and the highway department. And we met with all of them and they were good to go, and they'll be getting new machines. I believe it's in October or November.
So this new price includes all 10 machines that we currently, obviously updating 5 of them, but it includes the other 5 as well for that price?
Nope. So the second contract is up in 2027, and that's the assessor's office and the recorder's office. And then there's a third contract that's up in 2029. That would be human resources, auditor, BSO, coordinator, and emergency management.
Cause when I look at this, I got the current situation and we list 10 devices for $24.40, and then the recommended solution is listing 5 devices for $23.34.
Right, because some of them are going to not use their printers, they're just gonna use copiers that can copy and print. It's just the restructuring of the number of devices for those offices that are listed in that first contract.
So this 2334 does cover 10 devices. It would be 5 updated ones, but it also covers the other 5. Okay, 'cause I guess that's not the way I read it, is the recommended solution lists those 5 and then a price. I just wanted to make sure that 2334 wasn't for those, just for those 5 and not the others.
No, it includes all the devices.
Okay.
Well, we can't operate without them. So I will make that motion, Mr. Chair.
I'll second it, cause we don't wanna,
No,
Any more discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried. Grant County Cannabis Ordinance,
Yes, so the temporary cannabis committee has met many times. We've had our public hearing. We feel like we've come to a good, final proposed draft of the ordinance. It was sent on in the packet for you, to review. The last meeting, we did have some conversation about the language regarding the civil penalties. We also talked and verified about the setbacks for the different types. We identified all the appropriate fees and amounts. One thing that came up in discussion was discussion about the temporary cannabis event licensing and how that's gonna work. And public health will be approaching that with each of the counties in their districts or in their region the fourth quarter of this year to work on that. We did have some discussion and added some language under the first come, first serve in the rare event that we received 2 applications by postal mail on the same day at the same time. A lottery system would be used. And so that's just a very quick snippet of the conversation we had of the last committee meeting to come up with this finalized proposed ordinance that we're looking for approval today. Another important note is public health will be going live. They will advertise that retail registration applications will open September 22nd. So it would be good for Grant County to have our ordinance. We feel it's a good one in place by that time. The only other thing I think that would be new is the delegation between the cities and the townships. There's been communications with them to let them know that you know, they don't delegate, go to the state website and delegate, that the state will assume that they either won't have their own ordinance, there be no regulation, or they're going to make their own ordinance, I should say. So far, all the cities plan to delegate to Grant County. We have not heard from Elbow Lake and Norcross. Elbow Lake is meeting this month and will get back to us. Reed attended their work session. And we have reached out to the city of Norcross, and I'll reach out again today. And then for townships, we've heard back from all of our townships that will be delegating to the county, except we're waiting on Erdahl, Gorton, and Stony Brook. And I'll reach out to them again.
Mr. Chair, I got a question. These registration fees, you know what I mean, that's kind of a ground floor thing to begin with. 65% of the registration fee goes to the sheriff's office to offset cost. Well, the renewal fee is 100% going to Verizon Public Health. Is that something that, don't you think we should kind of share that kind of revenue, so it actually gives them working capital in your budget to do some of the enforcement? And you know, I don't know if 100% of it needs to go to Verizon Public Health. That's kind of where I'm at. That's my opinion. We should share in some of this.
Yeah, the fees will be, we'll have to approve the fees as its own. The first motion we're looking for is just for the ordinance, and then we'll be looking at the fees and the local procedures. And there was discussion about that at the meeting, and I don't know if that's negotiable with public health.
You know, public health
They are really doing a lot for us.
Okay.
They're like they're going through everything. I think they should be paid for what they do.
So you think the 100% should go toward them on the renewal?
And I don't know if that was negotiable. That was, am I correct?
I don't recall the specific conversation,
Okay.
but, you know, they have taken a labor before
Yeah.
in doing this.
They do put an awful lot of work into it. And, we've seen that firsthand on committee there. And Tina knows, Tina's put a lot of work into it too, so. But, yeah, I think the fees for the enforcement come out of there's another category there, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But I'll make the motion to approve that cannabis ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion, do we get a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
I've got a question. Help me with we haven't published this yet, have we?
No, it becomes effective upon its publication, and I don't know if I invited a summary for you to publish.
No,
Or can you just
I would,
publish that there's a new ordinance and it will be viewable at the coordinator's office Monday through Friday to,
So ordinarily, the summary is being. Not ordinarily, the law says that if a summary is being published, that summary needs to be published as well. So perhaps just the various chapters with reference to its availability at the coordinator's office.
So Tina, I was looking for it, I can't find it. We also addressed in the committee the parks, campground, and they had terminology. We should touch on that here. Where is that in here? You could help.
public use.
Is that the part where you're talking, Kenny, where the, like,
Section 7, page 10, use in public places.
Page 10.
but even though it's public, the owner or the owner of that land or say, or no use, no marijuana use. That's what I liked in that ordinance. Even though it's public, but like Tips, and if they wanted to, they could say, no pot smoking out here, no marijuana smoking out here. The way I see it.
You know, I know there's questions and I just wanted us to look at it to make sure we agree on it, and I'm fine with it. I just think it's okay to. And maybe you all looked at it.
Public place or place of public accommodation was discussed and the language was added that was consistent with Pope and Douglas County. As well as what they have in their ordinance, and it talks about, you know, what that means and what the exceptions are. And then before my time, there was an ordinance that was passed. The Grant County ordinance prohibiting cannabis use in public places, so that's already established and in place as well as supporting document.
So what's our next? Do we, have to vote on this? Before the published or whatever, or?
well, that's why, yeah, it won't become effective until it's published for 2 weeks.
Only one.
One,
I'll double check.
so we're passing it, but it's not effective until it's been published.
So we have a motion, we need to, did we get a second?
I second.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now the cannabis procedures,
Yep. We can do that. This was a document that outlines roles and responsibilities when an application comes in. Horizon Public Health put this together and it was discussed with the, committee about those roles and responsibilities, kind of making sure everyone is aware if they have one and what it is. And, again, they've done this for the other counties they're working with as well. And so the reason we're looking for separate motions for the additional 2 documents, is so if something changes in the future, we don't have to go back through the ordinance process. So this is just, the process for cannabis business retail registration. And, kind of that workflow, how it works for the registration to make it through the application process.
So could we get a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And then now the grant count, the fees.
You could one more time, that micro and meso. Someone,
Micro is employed, just, you're your own owner, kind of like some type of a brewery, like a microbrewery. You own it yourself, and a meso is you have employees. To my knowledge, I don't know, am I correct on that? Anybody can dispute that?
you remember Dwight, cause I asked it, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
We're old enough to forget, aren't we?
No, yeah. I know one has to do with multiple businesses too. That probably is the employee end. Okay,
This is Reed. Hey, the micro is a smaller scale. You have one location versus mezzo is you have multiple locations. It's kind of how they distinguish it. They're just basically different sizes of those businesses and what they own and how it's set up.
As long with employees as well, correct?
Yeah, I think that's part of how they split it up a little bit. Yep.
That public health on.
yeah.
You know,
No, Reed.
Oh, is that,
It was Reed.
oh. Okay, thank you, Reed. The other thing, and we're looking at these fees, that public health also did say they will look at their costs. And if this isn't covering it, potentially there could be some expense to us on when they retain that 100%.
Well, and we'll revisit these fees yearly, correct? Like we do everything else.
I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, they'll be a part of the Grant County fee schedule when we consolidate and make
Right.
that one document. And then the other thing to note is some of these are capped at what you can charge. The state caps them. Some of them, there isn't local control over how much you can charge.
I'll make a motion, we accept the fee schedule as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second to accept, anybody have any discussion? Not all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Tina,
In your packet is, a board agenda form outlining, everything that was discussed at the fair committee meeting at the last, meeting, the county board, requested that there was a committee to meet about, the capital improvement of the fairgrounds with a new pavilion building. And so we met down in Herman last week, one day, and the information in front of you is just an update of what was discussed at the committee meeting. And then the fair board plans to come to next week's meeting, with a formal request.
So I got a question, the update relates to a budget number of $500,000. Do they have a specific building with all the costs that they will be bringing, or do
So
they know
included
that?
in your packet is a drawing that they have of the structure. And then when they come back, they will have, the specs or the bids for that. What they would really like is a budget, the county board to give them a budget, and we talked about that at length. That's not necessarily how it goes, you know, it has historically gone, they came and asked for an appropriation amount. And so, they're working on collecting the bids, but included with the update is the look of the building, and they're proposing just a cold storage building, and it says in there, I'm sure if you've read it, that who would all be able to use the building during the fair: the Lions, the Legions, the fire departments, the Yellow Ribbon Committee. Also talks about their plan for building a budget to maintain it through rent of the space when the fair isn't in season. A lot of talk about, you know, this is a safety, it's moved from, you know, something needs to be done to something has to be done because of the safety, the condition of the building. And then talking about just the fairgrounds in general and moving forward, how, you know, there could be a good capital improvement plan, and they can budget small amounts of money each year to continue addressing the infrastructure needs on the fairgrounds to keep the legacy and the tradition of the fair ongoing in Grant County.
So you said you'll be coming back next meeting?
The fair, yep, the fair board,
Will they
yep.
At that point, you know, Doyle, would
Yeah.
they at that point be looking for this $500,000 decision?
not exactly sure, I guess.
Well, I get
That was the amount that in their research they came up with for a new building, and they're looking for the county to give them a number of what they'll provide.
Well, I think what Ken is asking is, we've already talked about the $500,000. If the plan is to have something in place by July 1st of 26, what is the date they need a decision by? Is it September 16th? Is it December 1st? Is it January 15th? What is that date that says,
Well, it'd have to be known before we do the final budget or whatever, levy.
well, that's a different question than what is the date they have to know by, because.
You're talking Troy demo and putting that building up by next.
Well, right, because if they don't have enough, if they can't get contractors to do it next year, it needs to be done over the winter. Let's say somebody said, I can do it for that price, but I have to do it over the winter. Well, then concrete has to get in before winter. Otherwise, you're gonna pay to heat it, and so, and I don't expect anybody to know that answer today, but I think that is something that in 2 weeks, we should know that if it's.
They plan to be on the agenda, and, but I think they want to know what amount the county's.
It's gonna be a pole building, so the building will be built before it gets cemented.
Yeah, the other part of it, that's right, that was part of my question, the other part of it is. It has to tie into our budget, because. We gotta explain if we agree the support of the fair, which I do. But we gotta explain it to the taxpayer. And what's the fiscal note and the plan, and I guess. Without that, it's hard to vote.
are you talking plan, Kenny, like how to finance it? or-
Yeah,
Yeah, the bond.
if we're gonna pay forward to the 16th, and we get asked for, if the 500,000 is it, and we gotta say yes or no. You know, Ken's gonna say, how does it fit into the budget? And I guess, do we have any of that piece fit, or are we taking out of reserves, or I don't,
The rendering that you see in the computer here, that bid was 226,000, wasn't that number that was kind of laid out there? So
That was just the building.
that was just the shell.
Yeah, the committee is gonna come with all that information. I think the committee's looking to the board. You know, they want you to have time to think about that, so you have an idea of what you're willing or able to do, so you can let them know, so they can move forward with the project.
well, that's perfect, so then I'm gonna ask the budget committee, finance committee, Troy and Bill, you need to let us know prior to the 16th, how this is gonna fit.
Well, yeah, and how, options on how to pay for it. Maybe not all of it this year, like maybe, can we bond for it, or what can we do here, but, to come up with 500,000 and put it on our levy, that ain't gonna work.
Bonding is not an easy process.
No,
And if you do 5 years at 5%, you're paying an additional $66,000.
Yeah, the shorter life of a bond, the higher the interest.
yeah, then we gotta just look at some options then, see if we have them.
I mean, it's not a lot different than our own life, there's a lot of things I'd like, just so happen I can't afford them. And so, we need that piece prior to 9 o'clock on the 16th. That's just my thought then.
So, when they did this bathrooms, when you borrowed the money, where did you get it from, USDA?
No, we got that from the bank.
Okay, so that's just private funding, no, okay.
Part of that other building was, that was a USDA grant, but when we went through them, that was another 60-some thousand, because you gotta have engineers and all this stuff
Yeah.
It's just,
Public money.
it's a way to waste more money, my opinion, but whatever.
So we bumped up their contribution to be able to cover the cost of that loan, then, correct?
Yep.
Just to be clear, cause it was, didn't we give them another, what was that, 5,000? 10,000?
Went from 25 to 40.
No, before it was,
Oh,
Yeah, it was 20 to 18 to something, whatever that number was. I don't remember that, look back.
The passion and the emotion for the project cannot precede the facts of the financing.
Well, I will say this, have you had your eyes on that building down there? Have you looked at it?
There's no question, I'm not arguing that, and I'm just saying, how are we gonna pay for it, and what's our strategy? Can you stand up in front of the people and explain the program, yes or no?
well, we got 2 weeks to come up with some options there.
Okay.
okay, we're gonna move on. HRA board appointment. Dale Richards is not, he's been on there like 25 years or something, and he's having some health issues, and he's not going to rerun, so Dale and I talked to Terry Christians, and he said he would do it, so I'm gonna nominate Terry Christians for the Grant County HRA board.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
I'm gonna bring up that this is not following the procedure we just adopted for appointments to boards.
Oh, where you gotta apply?
Mhm.
Pretty small pool to draw from down there. Mr. Chair, so
Well, according
I
to,
would say call for the question.
I don't know why he sent this, but Jim. He said that we don't have to do that, so I don't know.
Well, then we don't have to approve it.
You gotta bring me up to speed. Get, Jim is, here's one thing, and then this procedure, help me out, Troy, with that.
Just this summer, I believe it was this summer, we just adopted a procedure for appointments to boards. There's an application period that, you know, published in the paper that we have this position that is open and we're looking for applicants. And it doesn't say you can't reapply if you're on the board, doesn't say you have to be on a board to apply.
Remember we did that, yeah. I don't know.
So the first appointment to come up after we pass that, we're not following that.
So, Mr. Chair, if we had followed what Troy just said, would our outcome be any different, do you think?
No, it ain't gonna be any different, because nobody else was gonna do it.
So in a sense, we could
We'll do it next time.
go through the outcome and vote on carry it after we've stay consistent with our.
Yeah, we can do it next meeting, and what's it gotta be advertised, 2 weeks or what?
I don't remember what the policy says for how long.
So there is an email here from Jim this morning, because I sent the board agenda form to him that was gonna be at the meeting. And he said that the Grant County HRA is not a committee of the Grant County Board of Commissioners. The Grant County HRA is a separate legal entity. So he asked to please have Doyle nominate Terry Christians to the Grant County HRA Board of Commissioners for Doyle's district. Now the Grant County Board of Commissioners take affirmative action on the nomination. The term is for 5 years and will begin on September 11th, 2025. Seems to be done at this meeting since it's been until after September 11th.
Sounds like we got a time frame to deal with, Mr. Chair.
We have
I would say call for the question.
Justin want to weigh in on this? Obviously, we have two thoughts here.
No, so Jim is right that the HRA is a separate entity. The statute's clear that the commissioners appoint members to that board. You know, you determine how those board members are appointed. You know, there's nothing in the statute that requires the notice and publication, but that is a process that the board can utilize in gauging interest. You know, there are other statutes that require specific protocols. So when you appoint managers to the Boyd Sioux Watershed District, you have to publish for at least 15 days before you appoint, things of that nature. So if I understand, Dale is done September 11th.
Yeah, he's not rerunning.
So regardless, you know, of what the policy is, the language, you know, seems to indicate that it's mandatory that you shall fill vacancies for the unexpired term. So I don't know if we're filling Dale's until he's.
I think the 11th is the term.
Is the term.
I believe that if I remember seeing like the list of the it's the 11th is the term.
So, you know, I see the point about, you know, the policy being in place, and the first thing is you do when you have an open appointment is disregard your policy. But at the same time, it seems like there's you know, I think ordinarily what happens is that, you know, the commissioner on the HRA has to serve, and if there's a vacancy, then it goes to the commissioner's district, because there is a requirement that, you know, commissioners reside within a specific boundary or area. And historically, the board has, you know, if Bob Grover decided that he didn't want to, you know, re-up his term or resign, then Dwight and Bob would have a conversation about who might be a good replacement. That's historically what has been done. You know, so I can't tell you thumbs up or thumbs down. I can tell you that you have this policy in place and how you're going to fill board appointments. And I can tell you that the appointment of HRA board members doesn't require that, you know, under statute that that policy be followed.
Any more discussion on this?
So you made a recommendation, or do we need a, what?
I made a motion to nominate Terry to the HRA board, and Bill seconded. I think, yeah, it was Bill.
It was, call for the question, Mr. Chair.
All in favor of the motion, signify by saying
Aye.
aye. Aye. Opposed,
Aye.
carried. Personnel Committee, Troy.
This is the, motion I'm gonna make. Hold on, let me get my glasses. All right, I move that the Personnel Committee for the entirety of the Grant County Board of Commissioners is Grant County's only official line of communication with our bargaining units. Individuals or employees acting without the consent or at the direction of the Personnel Committee or Grant County Board of Commissioners cannot communicate on behalf of the county. Nothing contained herein shall abridge the right of employees to engage their bargaining units or other protective activities under the PELRA. This is just formalizing what we talked about a couple of years ago, I believe it was in 23. And I went back and looked at the minutes and it was never noted. We never had a motion or anything like that. It was just a consensus, I believe.
What's the acronym stand for, the last PELRA?
Public Employee Labor Relations Act.
Thank you.
So we need a motion for this,
This is my motion.
okay?
I just read it for the record. Tina's got a copy of it.
We have a motion, we need a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second, any more discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Grant County Sheriff's Office.
I need to take off, but I don't want that to be seen as, you know, anything as reflective. You know, the first time we met about Axon, I indicated that I thought it would be a good tool, so I just wanted to share that. Starting out because I don't like it.
So if I could, when you're still here, I think it's on page 8, it references that data is owned by the individual. Where was it? I read this.
Having the summary packet.
I think on page 8. The property of the deputy or something like that. Does that sound right?
No, it would be the property of the Grant County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
We defeated the copy, Dwight.
All right. I'm good.
Yeah. Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so you're 4 minutes overdue, so.
Thank you for your time. I also have our Axon Let online, and we can jump in to ask or answer any questions, or so just feel free to come, but we are back with the same proposal, but the price. And we can walk through a couple of the different things. I can tell you that John and I have met with the Public Safety Committee a couple times, and we've, you know, been with Chad with working on our budgets and, you know, setting our preliminaries. Everything is kind of up in the air with our wages, so I can't give you a good number. But, you know, we believe that this would be the best, a great agency to work with what we have right now.
So if I could.
Yep.
Under the accent. Page 8, where it says draft 1, drafts incident report narratives from BWC audio, so authors can cut report writing time. Every report is reviewed / owned by the officer. Owned. Now that shows possession.
Okay, so everybody has to do the report. Yep, that is their report. They have to proofread it. What our report writing time will be slashed because it's going directly off of our body worn cameras.
But
We are current owners of our own reports now through our current records management CAD.
so if they didn't wanna release it, they wouldn't have to.
That's not up to the individual deputy to make that decision. That's up to administrative and records when it comes to the release of information.
So that word owned isn't really important.
No,
Okay, thank you.
No. We have to, when we release information, it's gotta come through a data request, to our office under statute, and we gotta abide by that, and then also work with the county attorney in the release of information and dissemination. Disclosure on his part is on his end, for charging purposes, defense attorneys, but no, it really means nothing in the language of Axon.
I missed part of that, so,
Well,
is it just stating that Axon is not making a claim that they don't, would be my suspicion.
right.
And I think another thing is, it's been that way forever, but you write the report, you're responsible for it, you own it.
Yeah.
When
I
it
didn't mean
comes-
to interrupt,
when
I
it-
just,
when it
my
comes to
fault is
testifying.
waiting for me.
And that may be because if you have the redaction and the report, the AI part of it, it may be a disclaimer in there that, you know, this is the deputies, and just because our AI wrote it, if it's not right, that's still the deputy's fault.
Yep,
Exactly, it's on them.
You gotta sign off on every page, every.
So that may have been a bigger disclaimer than we thought it was, than anything.
yeah. And then in that packet that I sent you, it also, I know that you wanted to kind of look at some other policies that what it includes the AI portion of it. And so in there is in that packet is a couple of examples. So we chose Axon for a number of different reasons, just going back to the base and the front of everything. You know, we believe it fosters transparency, it holds people accountable, it's open communication between law enforcement and the communities we serve. And I can give you an example for the communities we serve. You know, if somebody wants to like send us something, like if it was a digital, we can just send them a link through Axon and it's just automatically uploaded, which would be a lot more time consuming of what we have to do right now to be able to get videos or, you know, and the different agencies we work with, our surrounding counties around us, everybody but Travers or Wilken, Ottertail, Douglas, and Stevens County are all using Axon. So if they happen to help us, if we needed their backup, it'll let dispatch know that there is somebody in our area with that Axon. So we just know that we're being doubly covered, you know, whether it's in State Patrol, yes.
Yeah.
They could ask for it, though, correct?
Yep, we would have to ask for it, but it'll automatically, once we receive it, it'll just click right into our evidence, and it'll make Tina's job a lot easier. And it'll organize it just perfectly. Which that'll help the defense attorneys and our county attorney when it comes to receiving information.
And I could have misunderstood that presentation. The way what I thought I heard it say was, let's say the state patrol responds to a scene where there's something going on, their cameras are automatically put into an incident. You wouldn't necessarily have to, all those recordings from that, all those cameras would be available at one.
Yep,
And maybe I misheard that you'd have to still ask for it. or-
well, I think you have to still get permission
Okay.
if they want to.
Yeah, it's their own accounts.
Yeah, but it would just kind of be in ours pending until we,
Retrieve.
yeah. I believe.
The three biggest agencies in the whole state of Minnesota, the BCA, State Patrol and DNR, all utilize Axon.
Yeah,
And you guys back up Otter Tail and Douglas.
oh, yeah,
State Patrol, DNR,
All of them.
work with the BCA.
It's not just them backing Grant up, we're backing them up too.
yeah,
We back up State Patrol more than they back us up.
yeah, we do a lot
I
for
got
them.
that interstate.
Yeah.
Yep.
It promotes consistency. I believe it's a very professional and respectful, agency. It's got clear standards. I believe it'll help reduce the risk in the field by supporting tools such as the AI, the report writing. They also have through AI that if a deputy has a question about our own policies, which, that can hang somebody if we don't follow our policies. You have the ability to ask our body worn cameras, is this in our policy? And it'll tell you yes or no. Like it'll give a great description of why. So I think that's a very supportive tool. Might save some phone calls at night from us, maybe not. Training, I believe that their training to, especially the tasers, we will have it's called a VR, and it's like a mask you put on, and it's scenario based training. So you're gonna get the repetition of, what a taser feels like, when you pull the trigger, and it's just great. They have great training tools. I believe it supports continuous learning and preparedness through the real world scenario training. And I believe it'll strengthen our partnerships with our local governments and our community leaders. Just everybody we work with. So if you wanted to go, they also made a 10-year vote summary, and we can kind of go through that. So on the page 2, all the equipment. So this is for the body worn cameras, the TASER 10s, and the fleet. And so we would receive a hardware refresh schedule on the cameras, the body worn cameras at 30, 60, 90, and 120 months. We would receive the camera docks for 30, 60, 90, and 120 months, so that would be the same. The TASER 10 certification program hardware is every 60 months. And then the VR headset, which is our training tool for TASER 10, that's at 30, 60, and 90 months. And then the Axon fleet camera kits, they would be refreshed at 60 months. At first, we had just the annual payments, which is on page 3. And after meeting with the Public Safety Committee, Troy was wondering if maybe it would be better to have semi-annual payments. And so they have that lined out on page 2. And so I think Troy's reasoning is maybe there's more money coming in August and in January.
Well, we get half of our tax settlements.
Yeah. So when we did go through the auditor with our budgets, you know, he didn't really think it would make too big of a difference if we did one or two. If you do look at the savings per year, if we did annual payments, we would save just a little bit more. So, well, okay, so it's, was it 16 payments for the 41, and then it's 78,000 a year if we did the annual payments. So I guess that is entirely up to you. Whatever you guys feel. Chad didn't think it would be that big of a deal, but if you wanted it, the 2 payments, we can surely do that.
It's the same price, though, right?
It is the same price, yep,
Good.
so we received multiple discounts, again, not as much as we did, you know, the last time I was here, but we do have the price down to $866.38.
Over 10.
Over 10 years, yep. And I know that Jonah, if we had any questions about what happens after the 10 years, he's here to help. And Jonah, do you want to speak a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, thank you for having me on commission. I'm really happy to be here. And like Jen was saying, I think this is a really comprehensive solution and something really big for the department moving forward. If anybody does have any outstanding questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer them. I think when it comes to what a renewal looks like 10 years from now, you know, multiple hardware refreshes throughout the course of the contract. So your body worn cameras are replaced at the very end of the contract. So that's not going to be a cost that rolls into the renewal. You don't necessarily have to like renew your Axon Fleet camera kits, but I think at the time, what renewal would look like is probably getting you guys some new camera kits and then repurchasing that same technical assurance plan to have the next 5 years covered. And then with the Taser 10, you'd be purchasing new Taser handles at that point. But we do supply buyback credits for any Taser hand purchased over the contract. So there is that discount going into it. And then all of the VR is handled within that same Taser 10 program. So obviously, you know, a renewal, it's hard to estimate what prices and inflation will cause, you know, where prices will be in the next 10 years. But I would say with the body worn camera and the camera dock portion of the contract, that's not going to be a cost going into your renewal. So that's part of the hardware refresh. I think just the one thing I wanted to highlight, and I'm happy to answer questions around this, but the Axon AI Era Plan that we've included in this package, that is currently about 7 or 8 specific tools that increase efficiency and allow for time savings of anywhere between, you know, 40% is conservative estimates, 70% when it comes to report writing, report accuracy, redaction, all of those tools. But this plan, it allows the department access to these AI tools for the next 10 years. Just at our sales summit, you know, a couple of weeks ago, we were shown eight new tools that are slated for 2026 and 2027. So, you know, this is an ongoing benefit to the department, and the cost that we've been able to get approved for the plan, I think it's going to pay for itself multiple times over in terms of reduced overtime hours, retention of officers. There's just a lot of value in that. So I want to make sure that's clearly understood. But yeah, happy to answer any questions or address any concerns if anyone has them.
Thank you.
I got a question, Mr. Chair. So this highly scalable cloud storage, who keeps that intact? So there's no hacking or, you know, is it that system, these guys here that'll take care of all of that?
Yep.
So that should never be an issue, and never has been an issue? Okay.
No.
You can tell if there's people sniffing around in your system and you can quarantine them?
Yeah. Well, I would say externally, I mean, we're a law enforcement specialty company. Our security protocols are very, very high. So we've never had breaches in terms of cloud-based security. Even more interesting, internally, we do have audit trails on every single piece of evidence. Anytime any person or user is clicking around in that digital evidence management system, it is recorded, whether they just opened a piece of evidence, clicked on it, looked at it. Every single piece of meta interaction is recorded. So internally, externally, you're going to have, very secure database. Yes.
Thank you.
And I know that the public safety committee, we've been through like the cost savings, like through our budget. And after, John and I, we met with Chad about our preliminary, budgets. We believe that we have some other, line items that we reduced, for more cost savings. To be able to budget this into our budget right now, so.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So what did it do to your percentage of your budget then with plugging this in?
Well,
I mean, without the wages?
yeah, and so
Did you look at that?
we've never seen a sheet yet.
We haven't seen that sheet yet. I mean, we
No.
finished up, first
you
part
had-
of last week.
Yeah, you said you reduced things in other areas.
We
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Okay, and don't you think that some of this material that we're getting now would be in your budget anyway? I mean, in your equipment budget?
Yeah,
Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I kind of see this is, yeah, it's a,
Could you,
oh, go
I
ahead.
mean, the two of you expound on that, what you said there?
Oh, okay, so they have equipment budgets and, some of this stuff is gonna be in there because they're gonna be using it. It's the future. And, so I guess what I'm saying is that some of this cost, the increased cost would be in there anyway, with their budgeting every year.
Would be, a little farther, like, are you like referring to tasers or technology? or-
Well, I'm referring
They
to.
don't have body cams.
No, but I am referring that they will have body cam. I mean, nobody's functioning without them anymore.
no, right.
That's what
right.
I'm saying, that they,
Well, yeah, so minus the body cam, two of the things that we would have looking at replacing moving forward are tasers and squad cameras, for instance. So that's two of the three,
So if you're piecemealing it, for instance, what you're saying
Yeah.
would be a cost anyway.
correct?
yeah,
We're here as a full program.
Right,
Correct.
right,
Okay,
right.
That makes sense.
And it's, we need an upgrade of everything. So it's. I know it's a lot of money, but this is the future and it's not like it's not a necessity because it is. It is.
So did you guys plug in some of your public safety funds?
Yes, so if you, so just like the proposal that we had a couple months ago,
Yeah.
so we would, we received 22,000 from the BGA, from the federal grant. So we would use that for the down payment. So our first payment is gonna be $108,000, 156, which that is entirely not even money out of the levy. It's the 22,000 from the BGA. Then we're using some other traffic diversion funds, which is $26,156. And then the sheriff's public safety aid funds, that was 60,000. Which would give us 108. So even when it wasn't budgeted, we were still gonna give these non-levy monies to that.
Which makes sense.
Yep. So our first payment, I believe that they have it, the down payment on each of your, either the semi-annual payment plan or the annual payment plan. That first down payment would be $108,956.
So we've essentially covered the first payment
for
Yeah.
26.
for 26.
Yeah, plus, plus more. Cause if we did the annual payment at 78,000, and if we did the the semi-annual payments, then it's 41,000. In August of 26, and then August of 27.
So you referenced it, the 815,866. How much did that change from when you come back with an additional discount and we didn't decide?
How much more did we?
Or is it lower or higher or?
Oh,
Well, it's much higher.
It's much higher.
I mean, when we first presented, and, you know, take into consideration the time frame of it all, yes. I think we were looking at $166,000 increase.
Yeah.
To the same package. You know,
So
June first versus now September.
when you come back with that corrected amount, what was that 815? You know that number?
That was seven. You have the old figures, 754,
I just took, I took out that.
something like that. I don't quote me on it, but some regional that number sticks in my head.
759, I think. Yeah,
Okay, what's that figure?
so this was the deal that I had presented, yes.
And now what is it?
816.
816,
That was in June.
124,000 was upstate
yeah,
total. Right,
199,
that was,
at the 759 price, yeah.
right,
But they said July 1st, you know, the AI pricing was going up. And so, I did talk to Jonah and I talked to, his supervisor and his managers, and they, gave us more discounts to get us down to 815. But the price increase from 759 to 815 it's all AI. It's all AI.
So about what, how much is it, 7,000?
June.
Well, can't remember what you said.
It's about 60,000.
think, just for reference, quick comment. So yes, the original that was proposed in June, where we had like a promotional AI discount was around that 759,000. Without that promotional discount, we were looking at 966,000, which, you know, as soon as I started talking with Deputy Vipond, we still wanted to push this forward, and so we're able to get it down to that 815. The way the difference in the quotes, some things like shifted around in different ways, and the quoting team sort of handled that. But yeah, getting it down to the 815, roughly around $150,000 that we were still able to take off. So about 45,000 higher than what the pre-June price was, but again, about 150,000 less than what standard pricing would be for all of the things included. As
I got something, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So if what you guys are putting forward covers 26, is this a budget concern for us in September?
I would dispute that covers 26. There's $83,000 in the budget for 26. This is the down payment of 25.
Okay.
So if we did an annual payment, it would be 70, in November of 2026, it would be $78,545. And if we did the semi-annual payments in 2026, it would be $41,582 in August of 26, and then in January 27 would be another $41,582.
Right, and that, we talked about doing that, so that's how you get to that 83 is if you add them.
Yeah.
I didn't realize there was a $3,000 penalty for paying twice over the year rather than.
Yeah, so.
Well,
so that 3,000 is per year, so that 10 years, that's $30,000 with the penalty, if we do it that way.
that's
that what I'm hearing?
That's what the proposal says,
And
so.
Jonah, do you wanna?
It's yeah, it was a little confusing even on my side of things. So it's not a penalty. It's just that instead of there being one down payment and then 9 individual payments, it's one down payment, 16 semi-annual payments, and then one final payment. So the total cost of both contracts is exactly the same, whether either invoicing plan. It can be a tiny bit confusing, but really it's just that one last off payment offsets all of the previous semi-annual payments, if that makes sense. So there's no total cost difference. Just kind of looks interesting when you have 18 total payments, with one of them being the same size as the other 16. So
I got a question. June 17th meeting that we had reviewed and you had quoted us, is what we're looking at today different from equipment than it was on the June 17th?
no, so it's the same exact equipment. Yep, same exact full. All we really did was it got updated into that higher cost at the end of June because that's what we were pushing. And then when Chief Deputy Vipond and I revisited it, we got that discount down, but nothing line wise, the quotes have changed.
The cost now was $815.
Mhm.
Because back there, total cost, and then it was what tax was
It's
$803.
not taxable.
So
Everything is the same as what I presented in June. But the AI price went up July 1st. That is the only thing that is different in this packet.
and I don't know what if the sales, but what I'm getting at, it went from 803 to 850. It didn't go up that much. You're quoting a number that's way higher. She is 150 some thousand. I'm looking at page 20 of the June 17th of your quote. I'm not trying to, I'm just wondering if there's a difference in equipment.
No, there's
It
nothing.
doesn't appear that our lack of ability to decide cost us 150 some thousand. I want to be clear of that, because it doesn't look like it did.
Well, the AI pricing went up $66,000.
Okay,
66?
Isn't it right? I believe 66.
So, and it can be, I would say, just a tiny bit confusing on that point because it does look like in this updated copy we did discount the AI as opposed to the fleet. So in the previous quote, some of those discounts were coming more on the fleet side than on the AI side. The AI was still discounted due to the promotional. With this price, we've actually taken the AI down per user per month by 40 from that original contract. But then the fleet contract went, or the fleet amount went from the 134 to 252. So the way the quoting team offsets some of those costs are sort of just based on my input. So when I reach out and say, hey, discount this, but discounting the AI side of things was really just an intention to try and get it back in that realm of what you guys were looking at cost wise. Pre that June, but no, nothing has changed in the entire deal. It's the same exact thing. It's just some pricing has been shifted around. And that extra 150,000 is just due to the loss of that promotion. So
the quote that you had that was expiring June 30th. I'm sure you have it, where it says total estimate with tax 803,000. Is that the comparable quote to the 815? Yes or no?
yes, I'm not seeing the 803,000. I'm seeing the 759.
You may be looking at an old quote that had a tax adjusted to it. If that's the one you're referencing, Ken. So we had reminded them that we're tax exempt. So the quote that we actually presented back in June was $759.89.90. That was the total dollar amount. Okay. So, not the 803, that would have reflected the tax associated with it. So what we presented back on June 17th was that 759 amount. And so now the latest amount, because we missed out on the promotional on the AI package, we are looking at the 815,866. So if you were to subtract the difference in those overall totals, you'd be right around $56,000 in difference in the
So
price.
not 150 something.
Well, right.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's like Jonah said, we moved the numbers away from one part of it to make that look better, but actually the addition is all there.
The
So
point would be if I had to answer to someone that because we didn't decide in June, this is the net effect.
Yeah.
It'd be 50 something. Okay. Thank you.
So if we go with the one payment option, when will that payment due every year?
The one payment, that would be in August, or excuse me, November.
Okay.
Say the 30,000, wouldn't that make sense?
Well, it was a difference in the final payment that
It's really not a penalty, it's,
yeah, it'll, after 10 years, the amount is the same. It's just by making an annual payment, you just don't have to budget an additional 3,000 every year.
So it says here that your quote is good through the end of September. Would that be accurate?
Yes, sir. So from managers, supervisors, and then our finance team, we've been able to sort of reauthorize this discount through the end of September. I would have to go back to my quoting team and have it requoted and go through the same approval process. And so, you know, I think working with Chief Deputy, we've tried to, you know, express the value of the program, but also mitigate any, you know, roadblocks in the month of September. But, you know, so again, yes, this quote expires at the end of September.
But you said you'd have to go back. You'd have to go back in September to reprice it.
No. So both of these options that we provided fully executable all through the end of the month of September. You know, ideally we'd like to try and, you know, capitalize on that. And I would just have to go back and get it requoted, if it was post September 5th. So.
Well, I think, and I don't know if I heard you right. You said you hadn't seen some of the budget specifics for your department, yet.
well, just because of the wage, you know, that's hard to, what are we gonna do with the wage? You know,
Oh, no, I understand that.
Yeah.
The rest of, I get the question I have, Mr. Chair, are we somewhat back to the same discussion we had last time? As it relates to the budget or the work the finance committee would be working on, that's Troy or Bill.
The information I have, this is with no wages, is the rest of it levied. So it gets complicated when we talk about the sheriff's office, because you've got 911 funds, you've got other funds that aren't, that I consider outside of the levy amount. So if you just take the 200 fund, it went up $57,000 from 25 to 26. Now that does not include any wages. That's just the line items I went through and added up that are not wage related, whether it's insurance or those other ones. So that was the information I had as of last week. Does that kind of answer what your question was? That does not, yeah, there's like there's other funds that aren't.
So it sounds like you were able to trim some additional costs out of your department in this process.
Which, you know, we were obviously, you know, asked to, you know, really do and take a look at. Just like any other department within the county, you know, budget wise, and, you know, find that we've, you know, over budgeted potentially for some things where, you know, if we take the last 2-3 years and look at what our overall costs associated with that specific line item was. So yeah, we over budgeted for that. So we'll, you know, try to reduce that by $20,000 or reduce, you know, our equipment budget for 24 was quite high. In 25 or 24 and 25 it was high. Mostly 25, 26, 27, we're not gonna see those costs associated with equipment because of the way the rotation of the squad cars went. So, So they took that in consideration, and I can talk about those things openly like this, but I can't give you a specific number, because I don't have that number in front of me, so.
Well, and so that is, and that's one of the questions I want to talk about too, is that the squad leases went down like 25,000, and that's just Ford's finally stabilized.
As far as we know,
And I think it's because we carried so many over and right,
we carried some over extended leases just because of availability and the lack of mileage when we, averaged 36,000 a year on the squad, 110,000 mile lease over 3 years. Extended some of those out to 4 year, 85,000 mile leases. And yeah, we got hit hard in 25 with squad cars coming in. I've got one on order now again to replace one starting here in 26. I think the way it sits right now, we will replacing just one car in 2026. Where in 25, we replaced like 7 or 8 of them.
and we don't have a, that's just the way that it's made and you gotta go pick it up.
So in a few years, you'll get whammied again, but.
Well, no, because we were able to kind of stretch things out now a little bit as far as how the rotation went, and on new leases, there were a couple that were moved to a 4 year lease versus a 3. Yeah, where when I talked about changing leases, that was done mid-lease, right? Where we said, when we need to make this change. So we don't end up having to purchase or lease more squad cars.
Cause, and that maybe answers my question, because if you take on a $78,000 payment and you add the cost to operational costs for the law enforcement center, and he quoted 50-some thousand, there's gotta be some huge savings somewhere else. Of course, once we see the budget, we'll see that. I just was kind of wondering how it, but some of this makes sense.
We did see some cost savings, we won't have the watch guard maintenance fee. That's our fleet right now. That's 22,000. We won't be having to spend money on taser cartridges because it's all in this program. Even our training cartridges are included. So anytime we use a cartridge, it's replaced. If something happens, it's replaced. No questions asked. Right now we're paying for servers. So that's 22,000 every 2-3 years. Upgrade to our EL5, which is our fleet right now, that's about $8,000 a year. We haven't had a taser upgrade for umpteen years, so that's a cost savings. If we were just to buy out individual tasers again, that's, this is all bundled and, broken down. As well as our in-squad cameras, those need to be replaced as well, so.
You guys are still budgeting for radios too, correct?
But right now, there's no reason to budget, because there is nothing better than what we're currently running as far as the Apex goes.
Okay.
And I'm not aware of any end of life or anything that's new or beneficial to us. Generally, and Tina might be able to even answer this question better, back in the radio day when we first started Armor, do they generally, when we get a notification saying, hey, this is gonna be the latest and greatest thing, how far ahead? Do you recall that we would see that a year?
As soon as new products are available, they're marketing at the regional meetings, right? Their vendors.
Yeah, we're not hearing any of that, so.
And these radios should be good for 10.
Oh, they're, yeah, for 10-15 years, because, even though we moved to the latest and greatest, the Apex, which I had budgeted for a number of years ago, if you remember, over a 3-year period. We are still utilizing the XTLs and the XTSs, which first came out when Armor started. And when I say we're using, not necessarily our office, but all the fire departments, ambulance services are using those. A lot of that stuff was donated equipment from us to them to utilize that, and they're still up and running with no issues. So yeah, the radios, right now, that is not necessarily on the radar.
Okay.
For budgeting stuff.
And they ain't getting any cheaper.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. The Public Safety Committee, is that Bill and Troy?
No.
Oh, go ahead.
Good.
So would you agree that from what you've been meeting, that giving ourselves till the 16th would be advantageous to see where some of these budget numbers come in for us to formulate a decision?
Well, it's not gonna hurt anything.
I mean, if the quote, which the gentleman did say was good through the end of the month, I just think that we're getting right to the preliminary time, which is at the end of September.
There's a date in September, and I don't remember if it's the last day or.
29th, I think it is.
But more than likely, we're gonna see something on the 16th. It's gonna be on the agenda, I guess, right? Do you agree, Tina? So to me, between public safety and budget, it just, I think, makes good sense that
When it's a large amount of money, if there's any questions that comes up from anybody in the next 2 weeks again, because we had more information this time than we had the last time, right? So as you think about it, there may be more questions that come up.
I think another thing, and I don't disagree with waiting on that, but I look at the liability aspect of this equipment. It's gonna reduce our liability. And that's a big thing nowadays. It's gonna reduce overtime for the deputies coming into court because they're gonna be able to see all this, what's going on. And they're gonna be making a plea deal. So I know that'll happen. As far as the report writing, I wish they had that when I was working on. Because it's stressful, it's burdenful, and it's time consuming for those deputies where they could be out on that road, rather than writing reports.
That way you lost your hair.
Yeah, part of it, but it's stressful because like when they say you own it, you own your report. You wrote it, you wrote it, deputy, and this is what you said in there, and you own it. And I'm pretty excited about that. And I did have the opportunity to ride with my grandson in Egan on Saturday. They got this equipment. It's just quite remarkable to see how it goes, Right away, stopped his car and the guy started tussling with him. I'm sitting in the squad and he's out there cuffing him on the hood of the car, but his camera's right on. Everything that's going on. And it was quite entertaining, to say the least, but no, if we can swing it, it's definitely the future, so, but anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Anybody else got anything?
I think if we can have some cost savings moving forward, and not, just sit back and, I agree. Ken's probably right. Maybe we should make sure that we have a comfort zone for this preliminary levy that we're gonna plug in, but I don't know if I wanna waste another 30,000. I think we should do the one payment thing. But we already walked away from 56,000. They have another 30 to it. That's good business.
And when we met with the auditor, he didn't. It wasn't gonna be very much of a burden, like yeah.
I think just before I hop off today, and sorry to keep jumping in, I don't have a hand to raise there, but are there just any concerns or any sort of anticipated questions? I understand it's a little bit more about budget allocation at this point, but anything I can address, going into the next 2 weeks, looking towards that September 16th meeting.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm gonna run, but I'll stay in close contact with Sheriff and Chief Deputy, and I'll be on that call as well to answer any new questions as they come up.
Thank you. Is there anything else that I can do? Is there anything else that I can do in the meantime, or?
Not for me, I guess.
Ken's kind of having a high.
No, I just, I think it's really important, and Bill, the way you said it, didn't feel as good as, but I think it's okay to exhibit due diligence, even if it does cost you someone once in a while. It's part, I think it is our job. And I know someone could debate the 50-some thousand, but it's reality. If we'd have done it 4 years ago, it might have been way less too.
Absolutely, yeah.
So different than any of the bigger projects that we've taken on, you know, over the last few years.
Yes, and I think that's the way to look at it, that we're focusing on where we're heading from a vision standpoint, and but once it's just can be and can.
This stuff isn't gonna get any better. It's as good as it's ever gonna get. Right? I mean,
Well, for right now,
other than we've got drones flying around, we don't need to it. And they can do all the patrolling, and then you guys fly from the sheriff's office, you know, I mean, that's the next step,
Yeah.
right? No more cars, right? Just a record, send a record.
Actually, Axon has a drone for first responders.
Really?
Get to the scene first, yeah.
Got thermal imaging on it and
Yeah,
everything?
they have everything.
Wow.
There's like fire departments out in California that are using them, and they launched from the,
Can you imagine the productivity?
oh.
It's the same thing as doing road construction.
well, it's
Like
all,
the job that has
assessing, it's all assessing is what it is.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seen that on the.
Deciphering what units to send to a
Yeah.
specific event.
They flew that drone in there right away. For the squad.
Wow.
Well, okay then.
So just get back on the agenda then for, okay. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
Board committee updates, budget and finance.
Gonna catch up with Chad at some point, right, Trey?
Well,
Have ready and.
as I'm going through these, you know, and if I do have questions, I can't find an answer for you, I'll go deep dive in.
Yep.
If we wanna sit down as a committee, I'm fine with that, I just don't currently have anything that I've been able to.
So Chad and I have exchanged emails, and I will be sending out the preliminary budget to the full board after the meeting today.
Okay,
Minus Western Prairies.
minus wages, or do they plug something in there?
Yeah, Chad's got it all figured out, and good.
So wages has its own
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
It's not, you won't find wages in departmental budgets, it's got its own line for wages.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Western Prairie hasn't approved, I mean, we're at the committee stage, right? Western Prairie will be approving a preliminary on Friday.
Correct.
We had executive last week and asked about what that committee's thoughts were, and it's like, well. We've already got one that's moved out of financial. So, you know, the view of executive was if we change anything, now you need to go back to financial and it, you know, so. That is, I think everybody here knows that request is scheduled to come in at 60. I think it was 60.
And probably the wild card is maybe the other two counties.
Yeah.
Well, the other two counties, but I mean, there's concern about insurance, you know, and where that's gonna, cause like Grand County, they went out for bids. So there's that concern as well. So
If you guys are talking about, oh, sorry, Troy, cut you off.
No, go ahead.
So if you're talking about budget or, you know, the levy,
Yep.
I summarized up, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I did my summary and all my departmental budgets to the committee, the Budget and Finance Committee. I believe, a week ago last Friday. So everyone's had that for over a week, getting close to 2 weeks. Asking if there were any questions, concerns, and if we wanted to meet.
Right.
You know, it was not my intention to send that to the full board unless the committee felt it could be sent. So if the budget committee, it sounds, or it appears now that to go ahead and send that to the full board. So you should have a couple weeks to look at our county departments and their budgets. One thing I'd like to say is to keep in mind that yes, what I did for at this point was to include the Western Prairie levy as it was for 2025. So there was no forecast, there was no guess, there was no anything about whether it's going to be an increase or decrease. I plugged it in, basically remaining the same. That way, if you guys are all on the Western Prairie board, so you kind of know more about what that may be than I do, you can use those calculations yourself, you know, if you think you're going to be adding or reducing that levy as far as the percentage. I will send Tina before you send it out. I will go over it for the 5th time. We have been working very hard with the departments on the last 3 weeks, working on these prelim budgets. There are some differences. There are some different departments. It's going to look a little different because the wages do not, or the departments do not include wages on the cover sheet or the summary sheet that I normally provide. There will be a line on the very bottom of the revenue department that says wages. That amount was provided to me by, I think, Troy or somebody on a committee as to what to add those, you know, what to add to those wages. But I don't want to really get into specifics, but the levy increase right now as calculated is minimal. I'll just say that, very minimal.
So Chad, the 165 for EMS and then, I can't remember the number for HRA. Are they being put in at the same, or what have we heard from those two?
I was first of all, the EMS, the 165, I left that the same as 25. I was not instructed to do anything differently. Okay. Getting to the HRA. The HRA is a special levy outside of the county levy.
Yeah.
So that's not included in what I'm sending you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a special levy that's not part of the county levy.
Yeah. Okay.
It is my understanding that levy will probably stay the same as 25, but again, it's not part of the county levy.
Thank you.
Any more on finance committee? Building committee?
We met last Friday.
Yeah.
Things seem to be getting streamlined and there's a significant, I shouldn't say so. There's a number of lists that are being developed for maintenance, so we can come up with a priority list. So there'll be more things for the board to see. I just don't think we're there yet. Does that sound right, Tina?
Personnel committee?
Appeals came back, went out to the respective departments. Other than that, I don't know that we
haven't met.
No, we haven't met.
Highway committee?
Well, the county road over there in Wendell, was blacktopped. And they gotta do a little bit of, tearing up of a certain portion of it that isn't, apparently their soils isn't good below it, so they're gonna update that. It sounds like they're gonna be back in a couple of weeks. Pine Ridge Park Road is in. and done black, but I don't know, there's a soil correction that's gotta happen there too as well on the east end of it. Bill, you've seen that, I'm sure, right?
I haven't driven on it, but I've been, yeah.
So, you know, a lot of times it's tough to identify where you struggle with these soils is you put blacktop on it and then you find out that it don't carry the machinery. And they should have dug it out and done some real definitive testing before they decided to come with a mix. So, I don't know, it's all on them, they gotta come back and fix, so. 55, don't sound like we got a definitive date on that. So, but I drove through it yesterday and you know, I think they're letting the traffic drive around the barricades. So, and it's ready for blacktop. So Central is getting ready for blacktop on the Otter Tail Lake or Otter Tail County Road, north of Wendell. Soon as they kind of get that prepped and done and, you know, there was some infractions there. As soon as that's all done, I think they're gonna do both projects at the same time.
So you're saying that the soil underneath, they proceeded to blacktop and then after found out. So the question I have. If it's a county road and are we inspecting / approving that to proceed to start the process, or are they proceeding on their own? And we're unaware of that.
Well, they got, you know, I think it must have got missed. And then when you put blacktop on it, then it ripples and stuff like that, so then.
But you said
They've done this before numerous times, Berlin Avenue, we had to do it down there and.
You said it's all on the
Contractor.
and you're sure of that?
Yep.
Yeah, when they doing compaction testing?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting
they
at.
must have missed it.
Yeah.
So what do they grind
Oh,
up?
they are, but they didn't.
Well,
They are, but they didn't.
huh? They are.
They
Okay,
should have done it, you know something?
so did we pay for it and it didn't, oh,
I can't answer that statement. It's, you know, we got Aaron over there and, you know, I mean, all these projects, he's bouncing around here and there, you know,
Which
so
company is,
these rain events have probably, if we wouldn't have had all this rain, probably wouldn't have been an issue. We wouldn't have noticed them, it would have been caught.
It's not a big area though, is it?
No, it's just little spots, it ain't the whole road, it's just little
but which
spots.
company is doing the work again?
Down there.
Riley's over there and Riley's, you know, so it's Riley Brothers, or Joe Riley.
Joe.
Yeah.
Well, who did it up here? Who did it in Wendell?
Joe Riley.
Okay.
Okay.
Public Safety Committee, isn't their meeting this afternoon, right?
yes.
Solid Waste Committee,
When they sent out their ordinance, did everybody get that? Or did just us?
Oh, that 10-year plan
Yeah.
thing? We don't
I
know.
believe it was just you on the committee and then Rita's talked potentially of doing a work session for the full board.
Okay, so that's, other than that, I don't know if there'd be anything with there. Is there anything else, Tina, that?
You know, that 10-year plan is, MPCA is gonna be opening up a comment period on it. We're gonna update, that looks like the next meeting probably have a work session before the meeting. And we gotta. The board's gonna have to support, we gotta find a way to get our recycling up to that 35%. That's it there, I think.
strategic planning,
Kind of address what we talked about it earlier in the meeting, I don't think there'd be anything else, would there? Think.
all right, public health,
We're meeting next Monday.
and Western Prairie, that meeting what, Friday?
Yeah, yep.
Dana, you got anything else? Anybody else got anything else? We'll adjourn at 11:25.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.